sure. I don't remember when we. All right, well, so we're kind of home.
Amen. Thank you, Lord.
It seemed like it was a trip that was gonna take a while to get home, but I didn't find it. I ended up, the return flight ended up for me like up for about 50 hours, 50 some hours from the time I got up until the time I got home and went to bed.
Whoa.
So,
That's what
Wow.
and the trip there was over 40 hours, because I wake up really early in the morning, like I woke up like at 3:30 the Tuesday that I left, and I got up, and so, and then by the time you arrive, you know, it's just, it takes time. So I left on a Tuesday, I arrived on a Thursday, you know, over there, you know, but the time difference. But if you just look at the, if I just use our time frame, it's 40 hours later when I get there. And coming home, it was like 50 hours. But I got the ticket that we bought from International Falls to Minneapolis. I arrived into Minneapolis like at 1 o'clock in the morning, and my next flight out wasn't until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon the next day. So I just, rather than bother anybody at 1 o'clock in the morning to come pick me up for a few hours and give me a place to sleep, I just crashed at the airport and, you know, crawled up on a, you know, some benches. Yeah, laid down and took a nap and slept until they come by. They, you know, they come by with their big buffer machines and they're making all kinds of racket and woke me up again. And so, you know, and then I'm on the wrong side of the airport when I get there because I can't check in because everything's closed. It's 1 o'clock in the morning and there's no checking in at 1 o'clock in the morning. So, you know, all of the security people are gone. I mean, it's like, you know, there's nothing. So I'm on the wrong side, meaning that there's no coffee shops, there's no restaurants, there's nothing. You know, McDonald's is open 24 hours a day in Minneapolis, but I can't get to it without going through security, and there's nobody there to check me in. So I'm on the wrong side of that. So anyway, I had to. So about 6 o'clock in the morning, I think, you know, things start cranking up. Probably a little earlier than that, and I got checked in. They didn't really want to check me because my flight went until 3 o'clock in the afternoon, but they did. And so then at least I got in, I got a cup of coffee at McDonald's. And anyway, and then I found another nice quiet place and I crashed again for a little while. And then, you know, you find a quiet spot in the airport and you fall asleep. And then pretty soon people start milling into that area because there's a flight leaving. And you wake up and there's a room full of people. You know, it's like, whoa, wow. So you get up and kind of wander off to someplace else. And anyway, it's interesting, but.
I think I might be tempted to bother somebody at 1 in the morning to come and pick me
I
up.
think so too.
Well, I thought about it a couple of times, you know, but by that time it was 2 in the morning and then 3 in the morning, and it's like, yeah, no, I can't do that. So, yeah, and now the next time we do this, if we use International Falls, we will book with Delta around the whole flight so that I don't end up with this problem. Because on Wednesdays, the only day on Wednesday, they only have one flight to International Falls, and that was the day I was coming back. Well, I'd already bought that ticket, so I'm coming back on Wednesday. Then I'd go to buy this one from the Falls, and find out they only have one flight on Wednesday, which is 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Otherwise, I could have got one at, say, 6 o'clock in the morning or something like that to come up here. There's an earlier flight. So, but anyway, next time, we'll do it differently next time, if we use them. However, it's hard to say because their prices are, this was a good price in comparison.
Tell them the prices.
So while I had all this free time at the airport and I'm sitting there, I went on Delta's website and I booked a ticket, or just, you know, went through the process to book a ticket for April, picking just certain dates, 2 weeks time frame, and a ticket from International Falls to round trip to Vietnam was $5,000.
Oh.
From, get this, from Hibbing, Minnesota, the same exact dates, or from Bemidji, Minnesota, same exact dates, $1,200.
What?
There's no logic.
And then did you try Duluth? Because sometimes that's even cheaper
Well,
than
that might
Bemidji.
be cheaper, right? Yeah, and it's just like, but I mean, there's no logic that for 100 miles, a 20-minute, not even a 20-minute flight,
$80.
$3,000.
Right.
Yeah, $3,000 some dollars extra. I mean,
Because that's why I haven't been flying out of I Falls.
Goodness gracious.
Because the government ones are astronomical too. And Bemidji's cheaper. And then this last time when I went to Albuquerque, Duluth was cheaper than Bemidji, so I went that route.
Yeah. Well, anyway, it's things to look into, but
That's
it's like, I'm trying to get hold of Delta, because I want to chew them out, because I'm like, there's no logic behind that, there's no pricing logic, it just makes no sense. I mean, it's like, okay, I get there's not a lot of people on that flight, but then anyway, it's just stupid. So, anyway, that's just my view. All right, so, but, to begin with, I just want to say, in life, Christians a lot of times have two theories in life, and one is that if things are going really well, they feel like they're in the will of God. And if things are going really bad, sometimes they think they're in the will of God because the devil is really fighting against them. And neither one of those theories or ideas are right. Because you don't know if you're in the will of God because things are going good, and you don't know if you're in the will of God if things are going bad. You know if you're in the will of God when you hear the Father say, do this. Because then it doesn't matter what comes against you. If God be for you, who can be against you? Amen? And if things go smooth, they go smooth. And if things go rough, they go rough. But it doesn't make any difference. You're right where God wants you to be. So never let situations, circumstances, or situations dictate to you whether you're in God's will or not. Find out if you're in God's will by asking Him. He knows His will better than anybody. Amen? And the devil comes to kill, steal, and destroy. So honestly, I think sometimes the devil harasses people when he knows they're out of His will, because he keeps them out of His will because they think they're on the right track.
Yeah.
It's not. I just think it's kind of a silly way of doing things. Having said that, this was a very difficult trip. We fought for every inch of this trip, it seemed like. It was just a struggle all the way. You remember when I left, we were still dealing with this machine sitting in customs. I'm on my way to Vietnam, and this machine that we bought to go to Compton for the coffee bean people, right? It's sitting in customs, and they're not letting it come into the country. And it's a stupid thing, because what happens is, the guy first of all, the relationship between China and Vietnam is not good. The Vietnamese people do not like Chinese people at all. There's no love lost there at all. They really don't like them. And so, when you look on a map and you see the East or the South China Sea, it all runs along the Vietnamese. They don't call it the South China Sea. They got a different name for it completely, because they hate the Chinese. And I don't necessarily blame them, because the Chinese are cheating and stealing from them all the time, and trying to take their coast and drill their oil, and they're messing with them all the time. So they don't like them. So this machine comes from China. It ends up in customs, and when the guy from China ships it, it's so stupid. But okay, so if you're going to ship something that weighs 10 pounds up to 15 pounds, it's going to cost this much. So they took this box with this brand new machine, and they added some scrap metal to it to bring it up to the edge of what the deal was, right? It could have weighed less than that, but for some reason this guy thinks, I got to get it up to, say, 15 pounds. So he adds a couple of chunks of old rusty metal inside the box. So when the customs open it up, they see this old rusty metal, and they say, well, this is just a piece of used junk. We don't take used junk from China. And so they call the office, and they said, we're rejecting this, and we're sending it back. And they were like, no, wait a minute, don't do that yet. Wait. So this goes on, it's like, I don't know, what is it, a week, or better than a week?
Oh, yeah.
This argument is going on back and forth. And on the way over there, they were really threatening. They had had enough. And they said, we're going to box this thing up, and we're sending it back to China, and they can pay the shipping. And so I had written a piece of ad copy for the Khantum ladies' coffee bag. Just a simple piece of ad copy that basically said something like, there's these sisters in the Central Highlands of Vietnam, where the finest coffee is grown. There's these sisters who are growing coffee beans to help take care of orphans. And so this little piece of ad copy, and I wrote it up, and I had sent it to somebody. I sent it to the office in Vietnam, and they translated it into Vietnamese. So that
Lund's office.
Yeah, Lund's office. When so it's translated into Vietnamese, and Thuy from the office took it down to customs and said, read this, because this is what this is all about. And so the lady read the ad copy, and she said, that's what this machine is for? And she said, yes. Oh, well, that's no problem. So, tunk, 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 and it's clear. And so I was in San Francisco, and they're shipping that thing back to China, right? And this is like the main reason why I want to go to Vietnam. One of the main reasons. I have really two main reasons. This was one of them. And they're shipping it back to China. I arrive in Taiwan, and it's cleared customs, and it's sitting in the office in Ho Chi Minh City, waiting for us to
Praise
get
the
on.
Lord.
So praise God. It was like, that little ad copy was all it took to get that woman to go, oh.
And I'll just, Randy was determined to write that up. I remember, it's like, well, I'm thinking, just wait. No, he had to get that done. And now we know why he had to. That's how I see it. You were just determined to get that done and sent it
Well, yeah.
and work.
Yes, yes.
So now we know why.
I had a different reason for being determined, but you're right. But that certainly, yes,
Yeah.
that certainly was, it was pivotal, because without that, I think
Exactly.
they would have sent it back to China. And then I don't know what we would have done, because then to get it back, anyway, glory to God, it worked. So I got to the office, and so I arrived on Thursday at about almost noon, right around noon, been up for about 40 hours. And so Lund said, you want to go eat? And I said, no, I want to go to a hotel, I want to find a bed, and I want to use it. So I went to the hotel, and I was gonna grab a hot shower and go to bed, and I had nothing but cold water. So I took a cold shower, and I went to bed. I slept for several hours, and I got up, and then we ate, and then I went back to the hotel, went back to bed. And I slept all night then, woke up in the morning, and so I got pretty good sleep. And usually that kind of is the case, like I get pretty good sleep the first chance I get to sleep. I get pretty good sleep the first night. But then the next night, because your body still thinks it's in the U.S., and it's 12 hours difference, so you're constantly fighting that, like at 3 o'clock, 2 o'clock in the morning, 1 o'clock in the morning, you wake up and you're wide awake, because it's like 1 o'clock in the afternoon inside your body. And so it takes a few days, about a week, maybe a week and a half, to kind of adjust to that, and then pretty soon then you turn on. So yeah, so this morning I was up at 2:30, but hey, it's all good. So it's just kind of a weird thing, but it's like you just get used to it. Anyway, so we had a couple of days. We were hoping to meet with the doctors at the Children's Hospital in Ho Chi Minh City, where we had brought medication before for these kids, right? When we brought it before, we had a doctor named Dr. Mao, very friendly guy, very helpful. He would he would send me updates, kept me informed as to what was going on with these kids that were treating. Things were going well, and they transferred him somewhere else. New doctor comes in, and he won't give us the time of day. And so I thought, well, gee, when we get there, he'll meet with us, and then we'll explain to him what we're doing. He'll get the vision. He wouldn't meet with us. So we have no connection at this point with the Ho Chi Minh Children's Hospital, and so it's kind of frustrating. Now they no longer have, I'm sure they no longer have any of the medication. They've already used it all, and we won't give them any more because they won't let us know how, they won't let us know anything. So anyway, so that was like one of the things I wanted to do the first couple of days. That didn't happen. So then, after we were there for a couple of days in Ho Chi Minh City, we bought tickets, because now we're planning the rest of our trip, which is to go to Vinh, which is a leprosy hospital, to go to Hanoi, which is where Lan is, remember the woman with AIDS who's blind, right? And to go to Da Nang, which is where Lund will open an office very soon to have a meeting with some people there, and then to go to Kon Tum, where the coffee beans are grown, and then to go back to Ho Chi Minh City so I can fly home. So we bought tickets and we fly to Vinh. Vinh is in North Vietnam. If you remember how Vietnam was divided at one point, kind of right in the middle of it. I got a map here in a little bit. I'll show you some pictures. But Vinh is actually south of Thanh Hoa, And we actually drove through Thang Hoa to go to Ho Chi Minh City on the bus. Lon woke me up and said, we're in Thang Hoa. And so, anyway. So, that's kind of where that is geographically. And in this hospital, in this leprosy hospital, they had 160 some patients that have leprosy. And so we went there, and just Lund has this idea that one of the products that they sell will work really well with leprosy. It's a wound care product, and it's all organic, it's all natural, and he thinks it's going to do really well, and he wants to do a trial on this at this Bien hospital. And so we went and seen the doctors there, and they agreed to let him do that, to run to bring some of their product in. And so that's kind of where the plan is for that. And after we had a meeting with them, then they took us out to visit with some of the patients, right? And so it's hard to explain exactly what this is like. It's not like a hospital, like you would think of a hospital. It's not like it's kind of like an old hotel. If you could kind of picture the old hotels where the doors, you can see all the doors, right? But there was like nothing, it's like you pull up and there's your door, it's kind of like that, only there's just a doorway, there's probably no door on it. And so there was like room after room after room, and just like a cement sidewalk with room after room after room after room, and then on this side, same thing, like kind of a big street kind of thing, and then rooms on both sides, and it's all open. And so we just walked along through there, and we would go into a room, and I would pray with the people, right? And just kind of love on them a little bit, and they were just so excited to see a white guy that they'd never, it's like, because we're in North Vietnam, and there's just not a lot of, and we're in a leprosy hospital, it's not like a tourist trap, right? So I'm probably, one of the only Americans they've ever seen, and just to see someone different like that, and they were pretty excited. And so we took lots of pictures, lots of smiles, and had a great time. And at one point in this, there on the sidewalk, there was a half a dozen Vietnamese people sitting there, and they're playing a game of cards. And so I just crawl up in there, and I get in closer to this card game, and I sit down, and the woman next to me, she hands me the cards, and I just kind of laughed, and I was like, I don't speak any Vietnamese, she doesn't speak any English, and I said, I don't even know what we're doing, and she just laughed, and so she would point at a card, and I would play the card. And around it would go, and every time she'd point at a card, and they'd laugh some more when I would play it. And we were just having a great time. And then we won. We won. And I was like, yeah, we won. And I gave her a big hug, and it was just, I don't know, it was just deep. I mean, it was just super. It was just, there was something so incredible about that day. And I told Don afterwards, I said, old people are just not my thing. It's like, I don't enjoy, I fight if I have to go to the nursing home. And that's probably cruel and wrong, but it's just, I'm just telling you who I am. I struggle with that sometimes, right? And I'm not a big huggy guy anyway. I don't know if you've ever noticed that, but I'm not real touchy. Like, it's like, I'll shake your hand, but I'm not big on hugs. That's just who I am. And so, but that day was so incredible. And those people were so incredible. And the anointing of God was so strong. And the love of God was so powerful. And you just, oh gosh, it's just hard to describe how wonderful that day was. And so, and the doctors feel that, right? Like they feel that love. And so that doctor said to Lund, he said, when you guys come back, I want to take you to 6 more of these places.
Wow.
All throughout North Vietnam. He said, I want you to be around. I got 6 more places I want to take you. And so we were like, cool. We like that, right? And so I'm just feeling like there's such an openness to the gospel in these areas that it's going to be interesting how this all plays out. Because again, these are all government-run things, so Christianity is not welcome, but God's love is. It supersedes all of that stuff.
Praise God.
So it's just interesting, yeah, because if I would have said, I'm a Christian and I would like to pray with everybody, I would have never even got into that, right into that place. Because they would just, for Christians, is the worst thing you can be in Vietnam. You can be Catholic, they can tolerate you. You can be Buddhist and they'll welcome you. But if you're a Christian, they will shun you. They do not like Christianity. And who knows why that is, I have no idea. But that's just the way that it is. But I don't travel as a Christian, I just travel as a friend of Dr. Lund's. And so, but then when they discover that you're Christian, then it's okay. Because by that time, they've already got a feel for that love. And they don't know, they can't. It's like when I first met Christians, I didn't understand that, but I was so drawn to them.
Mhm.
And I can't tell you why I was, I just know that I was. It was like, and so, and I feel like that's what happens now with this. It's like
Pastor?
we find ourselves there.
What do they look like in the leper colony? Do they have?
They look horrible. They look like, yeah, like most of them, many of them didn't have any fingers. A lot of them didn't have legs.
Their nose.
Noses are missing, ears are missing. Those body parts go, and they just cut them off. And for years they weren't treating them. They were just cutting out body parts and bandaging them and letting them die. Now they're actually treating them. So they're eliminating leprosy in Vietnam, but it's still, there's many people in these places, and they'll be there till they die. They're never leaving, but they will actually stop the leprosy from killing them. So it's interesting, but there's still, my goodness, hundreds and hundreds of people in this country that still have leprosy.
What causes this leprosy?
You know, I think they said it was just I think it's a virus.
And it's in hot weather.
Yeah, yeah. I'm not exactly sure what causes it, but
Is
it's
this-
definitely, it likes warm weather for sure.
Mm.
Has this been going on forever?
Oh, yeah. In the United States of America, we had a leprosy colony in Louisiana until just about 20 years ago or 30 years ago. So, yeah, I mean, we still have
Wow.
leprosy. Leprosy does happen here in this country, but it's so easily treated. But, yeah,
I
yeah.
think the real name is Hansen's disease.
Yeah.
That could be, okay. Well, anyway, the biblical name is leprosy. I don't know.
Armadillos carry leprosy.
Huh?
Armadillos that have them in Texas, they have leprosy.
Armadillos?
Armadillo.
Oh, really? Yeah.
So I tell the kids, don't, if you
Really?
catch one, don't mess with it.
Yeah.
You
That's
have to
what
be-
people told me in Louisiana too. Even if you come on a dead one, do not touch it.
Don't touch it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Huh.
Wow.
Yeah, interesting. All right, well, I'll put that on my list of things not to eat. Okay. So then we did that, and then that morning I woke up and I was not feeling well. I had just not bad. I just had like a scratch in my throat, that kind of thing, where you could feel something wanted to get a hold of me and go for a ride, and I wasn't real interested in it. But so we did that day. At the end of the day, we were going to stay in a hotel, and the next day we would fly to Hanoi. So we're getting ready to leave, and the guys, and Lund said, we're going to stay in a hotel, and tomorrow morning we're going to fly to Hanoi. And the guy said, why would you do that? Why don't you just take a bus? You take a bus, in just a few hours you're going to be in Hanoi. And it's a whole lot cheaper than a plane ticket. And so Lund says, hey, that's a good idea. I said, Lund, we already bought the plane ticket. Right? Let's stay in a hotel, let's fly. No, he said, I think this is a better idea. Because we'll actually get in there tonight, you can get a good night's rest. I said, I can get a good night's rest here. We can get on the plane and we can go in the morning. No, I said, I think we should take the bus. It's a better idea. And Lund is a stubborn character.
No.
He really is a stubborn guy. And so he's hard to convince, which is good at times, but in this particular situation, I'm no fan of it. And so we get in, he said, this is an awesome, because it's a lay-down bus, you'll enjoy it. I'm like, a lay-down bus? Yeah. So we get in this bus, and it's a lay-down bus. There are no seats. There are only beds. There's a row of beds on this side, a row of beds on this side, and a row of beds in the middle. They're all about this long. And they're kind of like a recliner in a sense. I mean, they got a weird shape to them, so you lay like this, kind of like this. Like yes. This is gonna be like for hours. Oh, this is gonna be
Made for
so wonderful.
Vietnamese.
And so, the longest beds are in the very back of the bus, that have the longest beds, and so we go way in the back, and there's two racks of them, so we crawl in the bottom rack, and it's the back of the bus. And the bus driver, beep, 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 for hours. Never stops beeping that horn, and bouncing, and bouncing, and bouncing. And I'm getting sicker by the minute, and my nose is running, and I'm just getting, and I'm like, Lud, oh.
This is the
I could be
stupidest.
in a hotel right now. I could be sound asleep. Tomorrow morning, I could be on a plane flying to Hanoi. But no, I'm in a bus, because this is a better idea. And so anyway, we finally get to Hanoi. And I'm like, oh my gosh, get me to the hotel. So we go to a hotel, and he's going to check us into one room, which, you know, and so we go up these stairs, we open the door, and there's these two beds, and this room is not even, this is the tiniest hotel room I've ever seen. And he looks at me and he says, I'm gonna go get one more room. I said, that is an excellent idea. And so he gets a nice big room, and he puts me in the big room, which I'm okay with that idea. Anyway, so then he went to the pharmacy and bought some drugs. And so,
So good.
well, that's what they are. And so he come back and he had a whole pile of stuff. And I don't know, he said, take this and take this. I said, well, you're my doctor, so I'll take it. So I took these pills, and then I went to sleep. And the next morning I woke up, and I had a meeting the next day with, if you remember the folks from, that we went to, the medical, they run the drug rehab program in Hanoi. And they had that 2-day clinic that we were involved in the last time we were there, where we met Lan, where I prayed for Lan. So I'm meeting with the husband, the wife of the husband who runs all of these, who started all these programs. His name is Trong, her name is Trin. So we're gonna meet with Trin, and she's going to help us to locate Lan, and she will ultimately help to interpret for that day. And so we met with her. Now, I didn't know these people when we went the first time. I'd never met them before. I know that they're running a Christian program, but we don't know anything more about it than that, and we don't know what kind of Christians they are. We don't know how they believe. Do they believe in healing? We have no idea. So we have a meeting with her, and we sit down, and I want to talk to her. And I'm trying to get a feel for who they are. And so I told her what my experience was with their clinic, how this Lan came to me for prayer, and how I wanted to pray for her healing, but how the interpreter prayed that she would just stay strong in her faith until she died. And I said it was the most grieving moment I've ever seen. It was just a mournful moment, like it was like a funeral, not like it was like a victorious prayer. And I said, honestly, I don't know where you guys are, but I couldn't let that go. I couldn't leave that alone. And I went downstairs with Lan, and I got Dr. Lund, and I brought him, and I said, you got to tell her to do this, to do this. I'll tell you to do this too. You ought to do this every day, if you're struggling with anything. I told her to read Matthew, to read Mark, to read Luke, to read John, to read Acts. And every time you see somebody get set free, healed, delivered, say that's me. Say that's me. And I said, you read that every day. You get that every day. No, she can't read obviously because she's blind, but she can hear it on audio things, on phones or whatever they can set that up for. So I said, you do that every day. You do that every day. And I said, and I'm coming back in November, and I'm gonna hunt you down, and I'm gonna find you, and I'm gonna pray with you. And so, in November, on the 1st of November, Lan's in Hanoi, and she's wondering if I'm gonna come. It's interesting. She's waiting every day to hear from us again, right? Because I told her I was gonna find her. And so when Trin called her and said, do you remember that guy from America who prayed with you and said he wanted to come see you in November? She said, I've been looking for him every day. And so we went. And so thank God that we did that, right? And so So anyway, in the conversation with Trin, and I asked her, I said, so when somebody goes through your program, your drug treatment program, at the end of this, do you say they're still addicted? And she said, she looked at me just odd and she said, no. She said, he who the Son sets free is free indeed.
Amen.
We teach them how to get free and how to receive deliverance and how to live in that.
Amen.
And I said, man, that is wonderful. I said, that's exactly what we would say. You know, but I said, in our country, in our programs, our government-run programs, once you become an addicted person, you are always an addicted person and you never are set free from that. You live with that, you fight against that addiction the rest of your life. You can be sober forever, but you're always going to say you're an alcoholic. And she's like, why would they do that? I said, no idea. It makes no sense to me whatsoever. But they don't teach the Bible in our programs. They teach other things. So I said, that's why it ends up that way. But I said, we believe in total deliverance. And I said, and for Lan, that's the way it was with me. I can't just say, well, God, you know, she has AIDS and so eventually she's going to die from this. I said, he died on the cross for her healing, right?
Amen.
And so it's by his stripes that she's healed. And I said, I just want the opportunity again to sit down with her and share with her and to pray with her. And so we went.
She knew who she was and was able to bring.
Yeah. Well, they actually attend the same church together. So that's how she knew who she was. And she didn't understand. See, they didn't do what I asked. Nobody understood what I wanted. Trin said, well, I brought her an MP3 player and I put a bunch of hymns on it. And I said, well, that's good, but that's not what we're after. What I need her to do is, I need her to hear the word every day. So we sat down with her and I said, do you remember what I said? Every day, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts. Every time somebody gets set free, every time somebody gets healed, every time somebody gets delivered, you say, that's me, that's me, that's me. And I said, you do this every day, you do this every day, you do this every day, you do this every day. And she's just smiling. And she's saying, every day, every day, every day. And Trin said, I will make sure she gets, she picked up her little MP3 player and she said, I'll make sure she gets the word on this. And I said, okay, Matthew, Mark, Luke, John, Acts. That's what she needs every day, every day, every day. And so I really believing they're going to do that now. And I have contact with Trin and her husband, Trung, and I will ask them shortly how she's doing and is she getting this word and is she going with this. And I said, if she just does this, and I told her, I said, and I told Lan, I said, when you receive your healing from God, I just want you to know you are not going to be the first person who's ever been delivered from this. Many, many, many people have been healed from AIDS. You're not going to be that unique, but it's going to be exciting. I said, one day you're going to wake up and your eyes are going to be open and you're going to know that you're healed. And I used Brenda's mom as a story to tell about how that cancerous tumor dissolved and how she lost her eyesight, but when it dissolved, she got her eyesight back, and I seen her driving down the highway, and I was like, holy mackerel, I was just shocked. And it was just like such a cool testimony, right? So I used that story. I used a couple other stories about people who've been healed and set free from sicknesses that should have killed them, but didn't. And so it was a great time, and then we prayed together, and I hugged her, and we took some pictures, and we left. And so that was just that was the other part of what I wanted to do that I felt was so important. I had to get back there and I had to see her. And thank God that we did, that we didn't just say, well, that was a nice experience, and leave it at that, because she was looking every day in November.
Wow.
And I didn't get there till Thanksgiving, so that's pretty close to the end of the month. So you can imagine that, the devil does.
Right.
So so then the next night in Hanoi, Dr. Lund has a program where he's handing out, these are vouchers that they give out to hospitals. They look like this. They're cut in half, but they're this. It's a voucher. And what it does is if somebody comes to the hospital, a kid, this is for children, I believe it's for children 7 years and down is what this covers. So if you're 7 years old or less, and you come to the hospital and you have really bad burns or you have bad wounds or whatever, and you have but no means to pay for treatment, you won't get any treatment other than what the government offers, which is virtually nothing. And likely, if it's bad enough, you'll die from it. So he gives this voucher so that the hospital will give this out to the patient, and then they'll be able to get the medication from Dr. Lund's office to cover, what is it? 30, that's 30 million, right? 30 million Vietnamese dong, which is, I think it's around $150 worth of medication for one voucher. A dollar was 23,000 Vietnamese dong. Yeah, 23,000 Vietnamese dong for a dollar. So if you think Canadian dollar's bad, hey, be of good cheer. Take it to Vietnam. You'll be rich.
Yeah.
But not really, because the candy bar costs,
Yeah.
30,000 Vietnamese dong. So yeah, it's crazy. But anyway, so we went to a conference that night. It was in a huge auditorium. There wasn't maybe a lot of people there, but there was still, there was a lot of people there, but it was a huge auditorium. And it's kind of like a United Way kind of program, I think, but for the nation of Vietnam. And he committed $14 million in U.S. funds of these vouchers over the next 10 years. So over the next 10 years, he's going to be giving these vouchers away to hospitals all over Vietnam. To the equivalent of 14 million US, that's a lot of money. But he's so committed, to bringing health and healing to people everywhere, that he's making this, that he's doing this. And his belief is that as every hospital uses these, they're obviously going to order more for their paying customers, because this stuff really does work well. And it's amazing, it's some amazing products that they have. And so they really believe they're going to be ordering more, and so it's kind of an ad campaign in a sense, but it still is a $14 million giveaway to kids who really need it. And you just can't imagine, you walk around Vietnam and you just see opportunity after opportunity after opportunity for kids to get hurt. It's everywhere. I don't know how many times I had to duck under electrical wires that are hanging from buildings, right? And they're gobbed up like this. And this is like the electricity that's running into these buildings. And it's just, if you think I cobble stuff, wow. Wow. That's amazing what they do.
And the city, you don't think that city's ever gonna fix that or problem, or?
I don't know if they ever will or not. It's hard to say. The city is so old, the cities are so old, and the wires have been there like that, and they just keep running more. And some of them are just hanging there and they're open. You don't know if are they dead? I have no idea. And then every 50 feet there's another one of these little two-wheel carts that have the boiling water and the boiling oil in them, and they're cooking food, and they're frying stuff on the streets all over the place. And just, there's so many opportunities for kids to get hurt. And it happens all the time, and they get really bad burns. Really bad burns. And so this medication just does miraculous things for these kids. And so it's awesome. So we went anyway to this night, and I got to meet the president of this organization, and so it's kind of interesting the things that we get involved in, but it's pretty cool. So then the next day, from there then we were going to fly to Da Nang, and in Da Nang we gave 130 of these to an organization there for distribution, so that they could get that started, and they'll get a lot more before it's done, but just to kind of get the thing started. So we had a meeting with them, and I sit in these meetings every day, and everybody speaks Vietnamese, and nobody speaks English, and they don't even stop to tell me anymore what they're talking about. And so I just sit in these meetings, and I do my very best to look happy and polite and interested, even though I don't understand anything. And so it gets a little frustrating for me because I spend a lot of time doing nothing, but there's, it seems that it's important for me to be involved in this. You know, it's like my presence, for whatever reason, is helping him in this, and it is constantly opening doors for us to go in and to preach the gospel. And so it's interesting, but it's like, but I have to sit in a meeting with government officials and doctors and all of these people as they go through, they talk about, I don't know what they could be talking about the weather. I just,
This
yeah.
14 million giveaway, who does that?
Dr. Lund's company will donate $14 million worth of these
A
certificates.
pharmaceutical company. The
Yes,
pharmaceutical
yes,
company.
yes, his company that sells, he is a distributor in Vietnam for the Royal Medical Products. So the Royal Medical Products is not donating the 14 million. Dr. Lund, out of the profits of his company, is donating the 14 million over 10 years. Yes, yes. And so I don't have the total of what he's given away so far, but it already is starting to grow
I
because.
want to explain this to Gene.
Yes, yes. This will all be posted on YouTube, so you can actually watch this today. I mean, not today you won't be able to watch it, but one day this week you'll be able to see this. Because I'm trying to post these for Vince and Ginger on YouTube so they can watch it. So, Ginger and Vince, all right. So, let's see. So then we flew to Da Nang, and from Da Nang we had a meeting there, and that was Thanksgiving. We had Thanksgiving dinner. I had chicken and rice. Just terrible meal, honestly it was. The chicken was just terrible. It was just tough. Their chicken is just pitiful. They're half starved when they kill them, and they're just tough, and they take a piece of chicken like I had a thigh, so it's the drumstick and the thigh, and then they take a cleaver and they whack it, boom, 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 so that so that all the busted up bones are inside there, and you kind of pick this tough meat out of this mess. And anyway, that was my Thanksgiving dinner. But praise God. So while you guys were at my house enjoying turkey, yes, I was eating some old tough dead chicken. And so, but that was my choice. So I'm glad we went. I'm glad I went. Anyway, so then from there we were going to go to Kontum. Okay, so at Kontum, again, like I said, it's been a struggle, right? So by this time I'm feeling pretty good, but we get a phone call, and Sister Ann, who's supposed to be in Kontum, is in Ho Chi Minh City because she has medical problems and she's seeing a doctor. And the doctor's keeping her over. And so Dr. Lund says, so we'll go to Kontum for 2 days, we'll wait there for her to arrive, and then she'll be there one day, we'll have a whole day with her, and then we'll fly back to Ho Chi Minh City so you can catch a flight home. And I was like, no, let's not do that. Let's just fly back to Hanoi, or to Ho Chi Minh City, and meet with her there. We'll do that. He said, no, I don't think that's a good idea. And again, Mr. Stubborn, And so we argued back and forth a little bit, and I said, really, just call her up and see what she prefers. And so he called her up, and she said, it would be great to meet with you here. I said, because I still haven't seen this machine. I haven't even looked at it yet. It's been sitting in the other office, and I haven't gotten there. I want to see this machine, and I want to meet with her. And it's all there, so let's go there, right? And so anyway, she said that would be a great idea. So we went there. The next day we flew back to Ho Chi Minh City, and we met with her and her priest, her father. He was there with her. And so we met with them too. They are the ones who are really involved in this coffee project from these orphanages. And so we met with them. And the first meeting we had with them, Dr. Lund was there for a few minutes, but then he had to leave. So now I'm in a meeting with Twee, the woman from the office, the downtown office. He has two offices. So Twee is from the downtown office, and I can't even keep this straight, so I don't know why I'm telling you all this. But she's gonna interpret for me whatever I need to be interpreted. But Twee does not interpret. Twee just talks. She loves to communicate. Vietnamese people communicate a lot. When you go into a meeting, the way you approach a meeting, I believe in Vietnam, is that if somebody says something, you don't just agree with them, but you repeat what they say. And that's how you show your approval for what they said. And then you add to it. And then the next person repeats what you said and they said. And so these meetings get like this. And it's a lot of conversation. Where I would just go in and say, okay, it's red and it's black, that the meeting is done. But they would each have to say it's red and black, and why it's red and black, and what they think about red and black. And so they get really like that. But they love to communicate. And so we're in this meeting, and I want to share with Sister Ann, and I want to share with her father, I can't remember his name, my vision for this Quantum Coffee, this Sisters Love Coffee, this brand that I believe that God gave us for them, and how it's going to make them a lot of money. And so I looked at Twee and I said, I want to share with them. So please interpret what I say. I said one line, and she spoke for 5 minutes at a minimum. Now I have no idea what she said, but I can guarantee you she did not interpret what I said. Because even though sometimes the sentence in Vietnam is a little longer than what you might say, it ain't 5 minutes longer. And so she finally stops talking, and then someone else talked. And then someone else talked, and then someone else talked. And finally it gets back to me, and I looked at her and I said, so, okay, I'm lost. I have no idea where we are in this meeting. You know what I mean? Like, I asked you to interpret, but this is, I don't even know where we are anymore. And so they went back and they visited some more, and finally, and you know, we were like getting on way into this thing. And so I looked at it and I said, okay, now it is my turn. And I absolutely have to have you share with them exactly what I say. Don't add anything to it. Don't take anything away from it. Let me talk to them. And so she did. And so then I share with them what my vision was. Now we're in a meeting with Sister Ann, right? And we're in a meeting with some business people. These business people are ad people. They're what do you call them?
Marketers?
Marketers. They're marketing people, right? And so I shared with them. I shared with these people what Sisters Love. And we had the label. We had a label printed up with the story in Vietnamese ready, so I could show that to them. I said, this will be on every bag of Sisters Love Coffee, and we will market this. We will either market it in the United States, or we'll market it in Canada. And so then they wanted to discuss that, and I said, well, let me just finish. They talked about this already for 2 hours, about the impossibility of marketing this in the United States, the difficulty of exporting coffee, and it's like, whatever. It's like, who cares? I said, if it becomes a problem, I said, they're not going to produce enough to make it worth exporting anyway. I said, just make the tourists in this country be your exporters. Market the stuff in the grocery stores here, and the tourists will buy it, and they'll take it all back to their countries. It'll be easy. So anyway, but I share with them how, you know, my vision for this, and how I got this idea from God, how God blessed us with this idea about making this premium coffee bean and marketing it with the Sisters Love in mind, and how I said, when you put this in a store, people are going to read this story, and they're going to pick up this bag that is $10 more than this bag, and they're going to take this bag because they like the story, and they like the idea, and they like the idea that they're helping somebody when they buy it. And
Did
I
it
said,
have an orphan story on there, or?
yes, it has the story of the orphans on there, and ultimately, it's going to, I'm believing in the end, it's going to have a story of a particular orphan, different ones on different bags as we go along, right? And so I think it's just a wonderful idea. Then I said, and I said, the whole idea behind all of this is not to profit us, because Vinroyal, Dr. Lunt's company, will buy every gourmet bean that they produce. And he will take care of all of the packaging of it, and he will take care of all of the marketing of it. That's his idea. And so, but I said, our idea is not to profit us for this, but to make sure that you profit from this. So we'll buy your beans at a above premium price. And that way you'll make a lot of extra money on this. And I said, and everybody who's involved in this project, like these marketing guys, they don't get to be involved in this project to make profit on this. In fact, before they ever start, they're going to cut you a check to help you. And they looked at me and I said, and you know what, if they're not willing to do that, we'll find somebody else. Because we're committed to making sure that you can take care of these orphans. And that priest started to cry when I said that. Now I'm telling you, there's like 600 orphans there, you know, and we're gonna end up with such a favor with them. And they're gonna allow us to preach Jesus Christ to them again and again and again and again and again. Which is just unheard of, right? I mean, Catholics are not born again in Vietnam. They are no different than Buddhists. They worship almost identical. They're all involved in good works. Their salvation is found in good works. I think maybe the only difference between the two is that a Buddhist gets recycled through life until he finally gets to heaven, and Catholics, I think, still only make one trip through. But it's all based on good works. And so, and again, Christians are shunned by both of them. I mean, you know, so it's just so interesting how this is all playing out. So that kind of was pretty much the way our trip went. It was like, it seemed like everything we planned at the beginning, the schedule of everything changed more than once, and we struggled to get anything done. But at the end, me and Dr. Lund sat down and we were discussing this trip. And he said, so what percentage of what we planned to do did we accomplish? Do you think 90 or 95%? And I said, I think 95%. Honestly, I can't really think of anything that we wanted to do. The only thing we wanted to do that we didn't get to do was to go to the Children's Hospital in Ho Chi Minh City. That was the only door that didn't open up ultimately. But we kind of fought to get everything done. Just seemed like to get here and to get there and to do this and to do that, it just seemed like it was always kind of a struggle, you know. And again, I had a couple of sick days and Dr. Lund was sick,